In cinema you have a continuum of pictures. Pictures in different scales, and then you also have a possibility to alter the scale during the same picture. The camera can track, or you can zoom, or the person can move. And it's funny that there are two things that irritate me when I watch movies. One is the handheld camera when somebody is running and, and the picture goes do 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 do. It's very stressful to watch something like that. In some scenes where, for example, when there's a fight or war or somebody's dramatically running away from escaping something, it's there can be a motive for this kind of but it shouldn't be too wobbly. There are kind of stabilizers for the camera so that the cameraman can run, but the camera is not moving so much as if he holds it on his shoulder or her shoulder. And the other irritation is too stable pictures. When you have, I remember I once had I saw something, I think it was in television, I saw something, film of artists in Paris in 1800s or something. I don't so well remember, but I think it had been their meaning to make the composers and pictures look like paintings all the time, but it's not so. It doesn't work. It doesn't function in a film to have so static expressions in visual expressions. When you have for example, the bridges of Seine and the city skyline, and it's always like a postcard, framed like this and stays here, instead of following, for example, the river and opening up to the whole landscape. It just didn't. It was just boring and dull. And same in the inside pictures of people, where people were very nicely. The composers were very clean, neat, tidy. There were people sitting somewhere and the other person came this way and bye, and then went that way, and the other person came this way and that way, and everything happened like according to all the rules, all possible rules, and that's what it looked like. It was like a book of rules. It didn't. It wasn't what it was meant to be. It wasn't colorful bohemian life of colorful bohemian people. It was a book of rules later on laid out for the time. And that's quite remarkable, and you should remember it. And always allow some sort of a coincidence and improvisation to enrich the material. You always take many times the same skin. So why not have a bit of a variation? Why not add something to one take and have one take without that something, and maybe in some take you'd have the person move more closely and away from the camera, and then in the other take maybe sit still and the camera might be moving. Because when we are building the whole of the film, these things matter, and somehow you just can't imagine how they add up or how they eat each other's over. So it's good to have different variations of the same theme, I think. No, of course, I'm a kind of a person who is not yet I am bloody economic, yes, and as a productive person, I'm really disciplined and strict. Yet I know that the variations are necessary, because without them you will lose. And that's something you don't want to. You don't want to lose the better way to show things. No. Well. About the pictures, yes. I've always done some sort of abstract color play, like, for example, this and quite a lot others around here. That's one line. My coloristic things, they are not anyhow formal. I'm merely trying to find some sort of a harmony. The colors have a certain scale of tones, kind of. Like here it's turquoise and there's a deep yellow and some light orange and mango and some different shades of green and a light yellow and some sort of grays spots and some mauve blue and it's for the eye, training my eyes and brains. It's very good to train them, because then you spot the flaws. If there's color that doesn't add up to the scale, that spoils the whole thing. Then you know it. Oh yes, you know it. Of course you know it. You used to look at them. And then there's another line of work I do, and they are the very, very strict drawings of people and plants and houses and streets and windows. I wonder if there would be something. Of course there won't be now. No, that's just the... No. Anyway, for these I usually make sketches and then kind of blow up with some sort of method that keeps the scale as it should be. Or then with the plants. I've been drawing plants for such a long while that I know them by heart. The same with insects and something, some butterflies and things like that. And with them I can draw just with a free hand, and they are quite exact. Anyway, somehow the strict knowledge of of a form gives you a very secure feeling when you break it. Yeah, that's the joy. It's the mastery, really, that you know, and then you break it. You know it very well. You're very certain, and then you can change it to something else or add up it. Yeah. It's a bit hard to explain. It's like the some 15 years ago I wanted to try my hand in forging, and I had a little forge, a smith's forge for some years, and I learned to deal with steel. And it's the same thing, you know, when you have a piece of steel, it's hard, heavy, cold, and when you warm it, so it's bright yellow, almost white, it changes. It's like what the hell it is? I don't remember the word. Anyway, it's like children mold up the clay, or you can mold it up to anything. Anything you just imagine. There are, of course, different steels, and they have different ways, and from one kind of steel you can make a knife or a sword or a dagger, and from another kind of steel you can make a candelier or candlestick or a heart or something decorative. Anyway, and it's a kind of intoxicating skill to forge steel. In a way, you don't believe it before you try, and when you try, you never get exactly what you want. You have to try and try again, and like with everything else. And but it's very interesting, and as a material, it's not so cold and hard as it seems at first. No, it's actually very flexible and delicate material. Yes. And when I think of cinema, I think always of a picture that changes. Some few days ago I saw the Midnight in Paris Woody Allen film. I haven't seen a lot of Woody Allen. I've never been a great fan. It's somehow I feel they are very decorative and like that. Of course, this was too very much like that, but it was an interesting film because of the city, Paris. I have one film, Requiem, that has some sequences placed in Paris, and it's visually very enchanting surroundings. And in this Woody Allen film, the Paris was really. They must have had a bit too much green in this, enriched the greenery. But it was just like a bit like candy. Yes, and also the night views. There were this street here by the Seine, and it had lamps, and then there were the lamps further there, and then there was the Tower of Eiffel all lit up, and there were kind of perspective layers there, and it worked very well. Yes, indeed, different places and different, and it was always it wasn't just this. It was the how they moved. It was like a music, the surroundings in this film. Otherwise, of course, I did think later on, what does it give to somebody who doesn't know the Western cultural history? I mean, if you don't know what was the Paris in 20s for art and literature, if you don't know Hemingway, if you haven't read Fitzgerald, or if you don't recognize who is Louis Buñuel or Salvador Dali, I don't think it gives much. But when you know, it's kind of an inside joke. Of course, yes, it was nice. I would have had a bit less of the present-day American girlfriend and parents. They were so very, very, very stereotypal, and maybe a bit more of the 20s. But that was his choice, not mine. But the general idea of a person who looks for a new way to live and knows that he would like to walk in the rain in Paris, and then he meets, by coincidence, he meets somebody who also likes to walk in the rain. It was a fairy tale, of course, but it was a very nice and sympathetic fairy tale. Yeah. How did I end up with this Paris thing? Oh, just lost the thread again. Oh yeah. Ramblings and bamblings. But it's nice. It's incredibly creative to let your thoughts wander. The side steps and paths. If you want to travel the main road, you're quite welcome. Wide and filled with traffic, but when I want to go to Helsinki, I very seldom choose the highway. I much rather drive the byways. And so this was just one byway. I don't remember how did I end up on it, but that's it. 20s.